Have you ever felt like you're always starting something, but never finishing? You start an online course, watch 3 lessons and stop. You buy a book, read a few chapters, and forget about it. You try to learn a new skill, full of motivation, but a few weeks later, the drive disappears. And then comes that cruel thought, maybe I'm just not good enough. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the way you were taught to learn? We live in a time where everything is just one click away. Information, tutorials, explainers, the internet gives us access to almost the entire library of human knowledge. And yet, it's never felt harder to actually learn something. According to Harvard Business Review, over 90% of people quit online courses before reaching halfway. It's not about lack of content. It's about overload. It's about distraction. It's about how modern learning has become a constant flood of shallow noise. The truth is, most of us were taught to memorize, repeat, and pass exams. But no, one taught us how to learn deeply. Traditional education trains you to follow straight lines, one skill at a time, one subject per test. And if you try to explore more than one path or shift directions, they call you unfocused. But what if the secret to true mastery lies in changing perspectives? Back in ancient Greece, the philosopher Protagoras said, "Man is the measure of all things." But today, that measure has become twisted. Followers, diplomas, views, certifications. It doesn't matter what you know, only how it looks to others. We've been trained to chase recognition, but not to pursue real knowledge. How often have you tried to learn something while rushing, expecting results in a week, watching videos at 2x speed, reading summaries, buying into fluency and 30 days promises? But here's the truth. The speed of real learning is not the speed of algorithms. We're addicted to the feeling of progress, but not to actual progress. We watch productivity videos, but don't produce. We read about habits, but don't change our own. It's an endless cycle of consumption without transformation, information without evolution. So now comes a deeper question. What does it actually mean to learn? Is it just about remembering facts? Is it about repeating what others say? Or is learning the process of truly becoming someone new? Psychologist Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, revealed that the way we view effort changes how we grow. People with a fixed mindset believe talent is something you're born with. But those with a growth mindset understand that skills can be built, and with effort, strategy, and time. Yet we're raised to fear mistakes, to hide confusion, to pretend we already know. But real learning begins with curiosity, uncertainty, and the humility to be a beginner. Our brains are built for learning. It's called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to change through practice and repetition. No matter your age, background, or experience, your brain is ready to grow, but it demands something the modern world is constantly destroying. Your attention. A Microsoft study found that average human attention has dropped from 12 seconds to just 8 seconds, less than a goldfish. We are increasingly impatient, anxious, and addicted to the next hit of stimulation. And here's the irony. The more we rush to learn, the further we get from what actually works. That's where the idea of the polymath begins to emerge. A figure who seems out of place in today's world, yet may be exactly what our world needs most. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter. He was an anatomist, engineer, inventor, and philosopher. Benjamin Franklin was a writer, scientist, politician, and innovator. They didn't limit themselves to one box. They followed their curiosity across disciplines. They built a universe of knowledge by connecting everything they learned. Most importantly, they weren't in a hurry. Da Vinci spent years studying how facial muscles worked before painting the Mona Lisa's smile. Franklin ran dozens of experiments before even grasping the nature of electricity. They knew that mastery takes time, and that time is worth it. Today, We're pushed to specialize, niche down, repeat content. But that kills our explorer's instinct. It turns us into technicians. When we were born to be creators, the good news? You can break this cycle. You can relearn how to learn, and you can build the ability to truly master any skill. But first, you'll have to unlearn what the world taught you about learning, and in the next chapter, we'll dive into the heart of the Polymath method. You'll discover how the greatest minds in history approached learning, with depth, intention, and clarity. And most importantly, how you can apply it to your life, even in the middle of modern chaos. Real transformation begins the moment you stop chasing formulas and start following principles. That's where the figure of the polymath steps in. People who never settled for knowing just one thing. They didn't see knowledge as separate boxes. They saw it as a living web where everything is connected. Leonardo da Vinci didn't paint just to be an artist. He studied anatomy because he wanted to understand the human body in microscopic detail. He studied engineering because he wanted his inventions to truly work. He studied plants, water, flight, geology. To him, everything mattered. But Da Vinci wasn't some isolated genius. History is full of people like him, polymaths who saw the world not as subjects to be memorized, but as mysteries to be experienced. Hypatia of Alexandria was a mathematician, philosopher, and astronomer. Benjamin Franklin was a writer, scientist, diplomat, and inventor. Marie Curie combined chemistry, physics, and biology to change the course of science forever. These people didn't know everything. They didn't have superhuman brains. They simply had one powerful habit. They learned with depth. They approached knowledge like explorers, with patience, humility, and awe. The Japanese call this path shuhari, shu, learn the rules. Ha, break the rules. Re, create your own. That's what real mastery looks like. But in today's world, that kind of learning seems almost impossible. We're constantly pushed towards shallow knowledge. We want tips, shortcuts, 5-minute hacks. We learn just enough to look smart, but not enough to become smart. And that's the great conflict. Our true nature is deep, curious, layered. But the system we live in rewards speed, surface, and repetition. So what happens? We feel frustrated. We doubt ourselves. We lose confidence. You start thinking maybe you're not cut out for it, that you weren't born with the talent, that something's wrong with you. But maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe the problem is the way the world expects you to learn, because the greatest minds never followed the world. They created their own rhythm. Most people believe learning is watching a video or taking notes, but polymaths live what they learn. They apply it, question it, test it, fail with it, and come back stronger. That's not just practice, that's deliberate mastery. Psychologist Anders Ericsson, one of the world's top experts on skill development, found that greatness doesn't come from doing something for 10,000 hours. It comes from deliberate practice with purpose, with feedback, with discomfort, and with deep focus. That kind of practice reshapes the brain. It builds precision. It trains your ability to see what others miss, but it also demands something most people never protect: time. In the book The Shallows, author Nicholas Carr warns how the internet is literally changing how we think. It's making our thoughts scattered, fragmented, impulsive. We're always jumping from one thing to another, from one tab to another, from one notification to another, and with that, we lose the most precious gift for learning: the ability to stay with one idea long enough to understand it. The masters of the past knew this. They valued silence. They made time to observe. They allowed themselves to go deep, and even more importantly, they weren't afraid to fail. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." To him, failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was the bridge to it. But today, failing feels like the end. If you post something and no one likes it, you delete it. If you study something and don't get it fast, you give up. If you try something new and struggle, you convince yourself you're not good enough. But that's struggle. That's silence. That confusion. That's where real learning lives. The philosopher Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." But to do that, you have to go through choices, through setbacks, through repetition. You can't become who you are by following others. You become by following your curiosity. Learning is not about collecting skills like achievements. It's about building a sense of who you are becoming. And this is what separates polymaths from everyone else. They don't just want to know more. They want to experience more. They want to connect what they know, test it in life, and grow from it. You don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci, but you can learn like he did. You can reclaim your ability to go deep, to stay curious, to connect the dots, and above all, you. It can become someone whose knowledge is not just something memorized, but something lived. But maybe you're still wondering, how do I actually do this? How do you learn with depth in a world built for distraction? How do you master a skill without getting lost in complexity? In the next chapter, we'll walk step by step through the Polymath method in practice. You'll discover how to apply it in your daily life, even if you're busy, even if you feel stuck, even if you've failed before, because you're not too late. You're just about to begin. By now, you understand that learning is not memorization, that failure is part of the path, and that mastery isn't magic, it's built on method. So now comes the big question: how do you apply this in real life? The answer lies in three foundational principles. They're the heart of what we call the Polymath method, and the best part, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to commit. Let's break them down. Principle 1. Connected curiosity polymaths don't learn randomly. They learn by connecting ideas. They don't think in silos. They see music in math. They see poetry in science. They see patterns where others see separation. Modern neuroscience supports this. Studies show that learning through association and emotional context activates more areas of the brain, making the knowledge deeper and easier to retain. Take Elon Musk, for example. He didn't go to school for rocket science. He taught himself by reading obsessively, breaking down problems to first principles, and combining insights from physics, engineering, and design. That's connected curiosity, and you can do the same. If you're studying photography, connect it with psychology, how humans perceive images. If you're learning business, link it with storytelling and human behavior. The more you connect what you're learning with what you already know, the more powerful and unforgettable it becomes. Curiosity is not a hobby, it's a tool. And when it's connected, it becomes your superpower. Principle 2. Intentional. Practice. You've probably heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. But that's not exactly true. Practice makes permanent. Only intentional practice leads to progress. This is what psychologist Anders Ericsson discovered through decades of research. Deliberate practice means pushing yourself right at the edge of your ability, not repeating what's easy, but focusing on what's hard. It means doing the uncomfortable reps. It means tracking your progress, getting feedback, and adjusting over and over again. Think of it like this. If you were learning to draw, would you only sketch the same circle every day? Or would you explore shadow, texture, anatomy, and movement? Real. Growth happens when you practice what doesn't come naturally. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But discomfort is the price of transformation. Polymaths are not afraid of this. They seek it, because they know every challenge is a chance to refine themselves. Principle 3, deep time. You can't master a skill in a distracted state. You need what author Cal Newport calls deep work, focused, uninterrupted blocks of time where your mind can go deep. This is one of the biggest challenges today. Notifications, emails, multitasking, they destroy your learning capacity. And here's The truth, if you can't focus, you can't grow. But there's hope. You don't need to live like a monk. Start with just 25 minutes a day. Protect that time, silence your phone, close your tabs, and dedicate that moment to one thing only. Over time, your ability to go deep will return, your focus will sharpen, and your learning will accelerate like never before. According to flow expert Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, mastery happens when challenge and skill meet in a state of deep engagement. That state can only be reached with full attention. And that attention starts with you and how you protect your time.